Okay, so if you just want to kind of introduce yourselves individually and then yourselves as a company.
I'm Lewis Gadsden.
I'm Jack Adair.
And together we're Hush Theatre Company.
Fab. Okay, so Hush Theatre Company.
Yep.
What sort of kind of brought you guys together as a company?
Well,
obviously your dissertation, but
yeah, we got the idea of our theatre company last year. We went to the Corby Q, and we went to watch a comedy double act that was fresh from the Edinburgh Fringe. They got given a tour, so they won the best new comedy. And we were sat there, and we were sat quite near a deaf man who was watching it. Now he got all the visual comedy, all the visual jokes, slapstick, hitting people and whatnot. But then when it came to audio jokes and spoken jokes, he missed the majority of them, didn't he? Like, everyone else would be laughing and he'd be sat there, which originally gave us the idea to form.
So the guy just wasn't hitting the.
It's just like the odd ones are obviously like lip reading was an element, like the big, but a lot of the like quick, witty like jokes were just lost on him. Like everyone would laugh and he'd just be sitting there,
just like looking around and stuff.
That's what I enjoyed. So yeah, we came up with the idea of making a piece which can be equally seen by deaf people and hearing people in the same room, and they'll get the same experience.
Okay, cool. So. Talking about the piece then, what's the name of the piece again?
A Laughing Matter.
A Laughing Matter.
Yeah.
And what's the sort of general idea? I mean, obviously talking about a show that deaf people can enjoy at the same level. But what's the sort of general?
To be honest, it's quite a broad subject. It literally just explores the art of silent comedy. Explores the art of the comedy double act through silent comedy, whilst aiming to give an equal experience of both a deaf and able hearing audience.
Okay.
A lot of it is us larking about and having a lot of fun.
That's always good.
And certain elements of it also explore day-to-day troubles which a deaf person may go through as well. So we've looked for the comedy in that and put it on stage to give more of a light-hearted view on it.
Okay, so taking something like that with regard to the difficulties that deaf people might have on a day-to-day basis, how have you managed to find the line between obviously being respectful but also appreciating the humour behind it, because it can be quite when you're dealing with that sort of thing, it can be quite a tough.
It is a very fine line, like on what's harsh and what isn't. And I think luckily, I think it's everything we've included is sort of we've looked over blog sites of deaf people writing their stories of their own experiences, and we picked ones that seemed they weren't really bad or harsh ones. It was just they'd sort of got in a situation due to it, and they'd struggled with it. It got a bit uncomfortable, a bit awkward and stuff. So we decided like awkwardness is often funny. Uncomfortableness.
Awkwardness and conflict. Obviously, with the barrier of not hearing someone, a lot can go wrong.
Yeah.
And so we've basically just found the humour in that. There's no like discrimination.
Because it's hopefully an experience. Like a lot of comedy as well comes through shared experiences. Like if stand-up comedians talking about a day-to-day activity, which you all do, you'll find it funny. So if you do something which then they can relate to themselves, then they will find humour in it.
So you've said as well that the piece is a show that both deaf people and I suppose mainstream, if that's the right, that's the one, that they can enjoy to the same level. So obviously you're focusing on a lot of things that deaf people have gone through and things like that. How are you obviously then relating that based on obviously what you just said to fully enabling, can't get my words out, people who can hear fully?
Well, basically what we've done is obviously for an able hearing person to sit in a theatre and sit there in dead silence it is going to bore them. Just watch, even if it is watching the best visual comedy in the world. So for them we have framed scenes with music and just like, but there's no audio jokes at all.
No music linking to punchlines or anything. It's all just how the old silent comedies had back in the Keaton days, just an overture. We just have a bit of background music playing, just setting
and any key, obviously you see in certain silent movies that you do need at certain points a bit of text to come up just to keep the viewer on the right track. All that will happen on the projector on screen as well, and obviously deaf people can read as well.
And we're not going to be speaking it, so the hearing people will have to sit there and read it.
The reason why we have to, even though the content of the play is not a 16 plus, the reason why we had to make it 16 plus for the deaf audience is because we found from research that a deaf person has half the reading age of an able hearing person. So
I
therefore,
didn't know
that is on average. So that is the reason why we've had to make it 16 plus. The content isn't that crude or anything like that, but for that reason we did, for subtitles and things like that, and just reading, we had to make it that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. So are the characters in the piece deaf themselves? Because you mentioned bringing in sort of situations that deaf people have had to deal with. Or
do we want to give that away?
you don't have to if you don't want to.
There may be a certain twist involving that within the piece.
Yeah. Okay.
Within the piece, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So, who would you say are your main influences for the piece then?
Laurel and Hardy, definitely.
There's a big sense of Laurel and Hardy in the piece, with obviously your innocence and my grumpiness. And together they are quite Laurel and Hardy, whereas Morecambe and Wise humour is a bit more, they're both sort of together. My character is a lot more fond of himself, thinks he's doing everything right, and he's assertive, and if he gets it wrong, which he always does, he'll blame Jack's character.
Morecambe and Wise as well is more based on a lot of witty wordplay. Whereas people like Chaplin, Keaton and all that is just straight back to the silent basics of where what you're looking at is what you're laughing at. Yeah.
Also massive clowning elements of Jack the Cock and people like that, and obviously buffoonery as well. So
okay. So are you guys playing one? Because I know a lot of people are multi-rolling for the shows. Is it just one character each?
They are all one. It is one persona all the way through per person. But they decide to take certain opportunities upon themselves which they probably aren't qualified for.
Okay. And working with silent theatre, what difficulties have you found that you've had? Because obviously it's not a medium that we're all 100% familiar with. What difficulties have you had, and how have you kind of overcome them?
The initial getting it up on its feet and starting to produce material was hard. It was so hard. So in rehearsal, to start a piece or start a sketch, obviously we used like certain devising techniques we used from other companies, but we'd do them speaking first. We'd do them speaking, and obviously then bring in the gestures, and then we'd take away the speaking. And first of all, we tried it straight just up, silent, and it didn't work. It was unclear. We watched it back. And we were like,
you'd be going into the rehearsal space with no energy because you're not talking.
Yeah, I guess.
Energy is a big thing. Obviously, you need all the energy. You need probably half more energy in order to get it out silently to make it clear to the audience. But it wasn't happening if we just done it straight away. We had to do it talking in order to get the energy up. And then we could bring it in, and after doing that, a lot of the content is far more clearer. Okay,
so how did you, again, because you're focusing on sort of the silent media, how did you sort of devise a lot of the content? Because it's obviously very different in terms of, because with theatre, a lot of what is said is very important. And obviously with technically nothing being said, how did you go about devising sort of the scenarios and things like that?
We've done it in a few ways, to be honest. We've got verbatim, obviously, from blogs online from deaf people, which is where we've got the humour if we want certain day-to-day struggles for deaf people. We've also used certain games which we've used whilst our time in training, which we worked with the Paper Birds in September, and they had a really interesting game called the Impossible Game. And you set the other person an impossible task. For example, eat your own head. And then you'd sit down and they'd try and eat their own head. But through the multiple readership and other things, you watch it back, and then you think, oh, actually, that looks like that. That could be funny in that place.
We did durational improvisation as well, which is, I think we did it for about half an hour, didn't we? Something like that. We just get a load of props. Suggestions, chance cards, which gives you a stimulus of something to do, like follow someone for a minute, shout at someone, spread them around the room, and then just for half an hour, leave the camera on, take on your characters and just play in the space without interruptions for half an hour, watch it back and see what moments come out of it that can be used in a piece as well.
Further developed.
Okay, good. So obviously it's a academic piece as well, to some degree, because it's part of your dissertation. So there's obviously some boxes that need to be ticked, things like that. So what are the aims of the piece, kind of in a sort of measurable way? Because obviously you're looking to do a performance where deaf people can enjoy it as much as anybody else. Yeah. But sort of what are the aims in general?
Well, obviously the main aim is to explore the art of comedy double act through silent comedy. It's got to be funny. Yeah. If it's not funny, obviously the second aim we've got is to create an equal experience for both deaf and able hearing. Yep. By that we'll obviously put out questionnaires at the end of the show to both deaf and able hearing people. If the majority of them both understand and could follow the content, all well and good. Yeah. And then our third one was is to explore the day-to-day struggles of deaf people. Okay, excellent. And once the show's done, what are your plans as a company? Are you going to stick together, or are you going to part ways?
We've got a slot at Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Nice, very good.
For a week.
The first week, so we're on from the 2nd till the 10th.
Excellent.
At Surgeons Hall. So come on down. 5 till 6 every day for a week.
Wow, that's great. I mean, it's an interesting piece in that it's not something that's done very often. No. I can't think of anything off the top of my head where theatre's been done in a way.
We found during the research, because to back up the written side of our research, we were looking for quotes to put in about the need for an equal, and there was nothing at all. We couldn't even find art. It was odd extracts from a paper article from 3 years ago we had to find.
Yeah, and I think you should probably end up getting quite a lot of coverage, not necessarily coverage, but a lot of attention, because it's something that's not really, as far as I'm aware, been done, not to the same style that you're doing it in. I mean, obviously you have just purely physical pieces, but nothing that's aimed for deaf people as such. So I think you'll get a lot of attention, particularly at Edinburgh, I should imagine, for that.
Well, we hope so.
Particularly seeing as comedy as well, because Edinburgh is very comedy-driven these days. So that's good. Okay. And back to the festival in a couple of weeks. How, when, and where can we see your show?
We are performing on the 29th and 30th and the 2nd. So, it's 29th of April, 30th of April, and 2nd of May. Cool. We are in Underground 4. 1 o'clock on the 29th. We are 4:30 on the 30th and 1 o'clock on the 2nd.
And how much tickets?
£5.
£5. Awesome. Well, best of luck with the show. I'm not sure if it's me or one of the other guys coming to see yours, but whoever is there, I'm sure will enjoy it. But yes, best of luck with the show. And thanks very much.
Cheers. Thank you.
No problem.
Cheers.